So it's Friday, and on Fridays I do a sort of all-day Q&A on my Instagram, in my Instagram stories. So I'll post some stupid, ridiculous picture like this, and then all throughout the day I'll answer the questions that I get from people. And I figured since we haven't done a random question video on the channel in a while, I figured we would do one using some of the questions from the Instagram. Now, as always with one of the random question videos that I do, we will have a free something or other up for grabs. And today it's going to be one of the new shirts we just released. So the Embrace the Suck, which is kind of a term that I've used a few times on the channel. A lot of you guys said that it'd make a cool shirt, so we got some shirts made. So with that said, guys, let's have some fun and let's get started with the questions. Do you think you get the same out of listening to an audiobook as reading the book? So I think that it depends on the person, but personally what I like to do is whether I'm reading it or if I'm listening to it, if it's something I really want to hang on to, because you know sometimes there's certain audiobooks or maybe books that you're reading just for the story and it's entertainment, but if it's something that I really want to remember because there's some really interesting information, I will actually journal it. So I either have physical journals that I will write in with my hand, which seems to help retain the knowledge, or I will put it into my Evernote so that I can like recall it later. I can just do a search function and find the information. But I find that taking the information out of the book and then paraphrasing it and rewriting it in my own words to sort of help me understand it, that really seems to help me remember the information. Are filthy wrist locks really that filthy? Asking for a friend. Bro, I love wrist locks. I love wrist locks so much for the simple fact that they give you the ability to like make people uncomfortable like grabbing you, because if you're constantly attacking the wrists, people don't really want to put their hands on you. Now the thing about wrist locks is they have to be controlled. A lot of people early on can like they pull them too quick, and that can cause like, you know, damage to your training partners. But if you get to the point where you learn how to like hold that arm and isolate the arm really well so that this way you can apply pressure slowly, I love wrist locks. By manscape, I think you mean like trimming everything. Yeah, I manscape. Me and my girlfriend, we call it shearing. So especially my back, I'll get these like my chest gets pretty fuzzy too, but my back, I'll get these big tufts of fur on the sides of my lats, and I can't get to them. So I'll get her to come in and it's like, hey, can you shear me? And she'll come in and she'll trim me down. If you've ever seen a picture of my girlfriend on Instagram, she's like 4'11", so she's like a foot shorter than me. So like I have to like squat down and she has to like stand up on a little stool to get to me sometimes. But yeah, I do a little bit of manscaping. I like watches like when I go on camping trips, and then like when I'm competing I have one for a stopwatch, but as far as actually like liking to wear like a big clunky watch or something, nah, just not into them. How do you avoid damage to the ear? I think you're talking about cauliflower ears. So you're talking about this stuff, right? The mangled ear. To be honest, I don't know, man. Like, it's really hard to avoid ever doing something. I mean, this took me like 8 years to get. I've got a little bit like small ears for my head size, so they didn't get mangled as much. But you know, a lot of people get cauliflower ear really early. As far as getting rid of it, I don't know, man. For me, I look at it kind of proudly because, you know, I had to earn this. You just can't get this stuff. You know, I just can't like, you know, sit at a desk all day and get cauliflower. I have to put time on the mats and have to get into rough situations to get that stuff. And so for me, I kind of look at it kind of, you know, I got some cauliflower here. And I know some people think it looks unsightly and stuff like that, but again, just a difference of opinion. So how to avoid it? I mean, you can get headgear and things like that. Like you can get the headgear like this, but I don't know, man. To me, like if you're gonna do jiu-jitsu, it's a full contact. It's a contact sport, right? So it's not a soft sport. So I would just embrace it and kind of go with it. Thoughts on attendance-based promotions? So getting your promotions based on attendance, I don't like the idea. I think it's kind of lame, and if anybody has gotten promoted on that, I'm sorry, just the way I look at it. But I think that with attendance-based promotions, it's kind of like pandering to someone to like, hey, come on, keep training, don't give up yet. And I can see there's a value in that. But the reality is that if I've got to like bait you into to come into the gym every single day just so you get this stripe or this belt, to me, it's just not for you. You know, sometimes people say jiu-jitsu's for everyone. I don't think that, because jiu-jitsu it's a hard-ass sport to get into. It's a really hard martial art. It requires a lot of perseverance, just like anything else does. And, you know, a lot of people don't like that kind of challenge. They don't like that roughness that exists in it. They just don't like it. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's probably something else out there for them that's going to be better suited for them. But jiu-jitsu's not going to be it. But I think that a lot of times when you do this kind of attendance-based thing, you're then like acting as if there's some sort of linear, like step by step way that you'll improve. But it just doesn't work that way. Like, you know, a lot of you guys that have been training for a long time, you just know this. Like, everybody gets better at different levels. They go in different directions. They favor different techniques techniques, it's just all over the place. And the thing that has to be true is not this attendance. It has to be, obviously attendance, it has to be there, but the reason you should be coming into the gym and maintaining consistent attendance is not because of the next promotion. It's because you just want to be there, right? There has to be some intrinsic reason, something in you that says, man, I just kind of want to be in there. You don't have to be able to explain it early on. I know that for me, for a long time, I couldn't tell you why I was in the gym all the time. I just knew I wanted to be there. And it didn't matter if I was getting promoted. It didn't matter what was going on. I just wanted to be in the gym. And so what I would say for you guys, if you're asking me about it, I don't like it. And I think that maybe you could possibly do an attendance slash, maybe testing slash how are they rolling, like some sort of mixture of a test or something. But I think purely based on attendance is just sort of overlooking a lot of stuff. How do you get rid of fear in competitions? Man, I don't know that you get rid of it. I don't know that you get completely rid of fear, but at the same time, I don't see it as fear. Fear of like something bad, like that makes me think of someone holding a gun to my head. That would be real fear. What I feel a lot of times in competitions is more of a anxiousness to be out there, because a lot of times, this is different for everyone, but I know that for me, like once I'm actually on the mat, I don't feel any fear or anxiousness or nervousness. I'm there. I'm actually in the thing. I remember back when I would fight MMA, I would be so like ramped up and anxious and like just anticipating like that moment to be in the cage. And then as soon as I would be in the cage, there was no more fear. We're doing the thing now. We're actually fighting, and it was kind of liberating. And so in competitions, if you change the way that you look at it, I think it helps, which is don't see it as fear, because if you say that it's fear, it becomes fear, right? Like if you say, God, I'm nervous, I'm scared, I'm fearful, whatever, then it's gonna be that. But if you look at it and think of it as, man, my body's like anxious to be out there. It's anticipation for this match that's coming up. That's a different sort of ball game completely. And I think that that's what it is, because, as you get more and more comfortable with that sort of feeling that your body gets, it helps you perform better. I say this, with 100% certainty for my own game. As I got more comfortable with those nerves before competitions and got better at channeling them, it made me perform at a higher level. Like the guys will tell you in the gym, I do things in competitions and I sort of get into a certain intensity that you just won't see me doing here, because I can't replicate those feelings of a competition. And so what I would say is change the way that you're looking at it. Don't see it as fear, see it as anticipation for being out there in the match. Your body's getting ready for battle. It wants to be out there. And once you're on the mat, you slap hands, bump fists, and you go. It's no longer thinking. It's no longer being afraid of anything. It's about just being in there and doing the damn thing. And so I think of it that way. Most rewarding BJJ experience. Probably promoting people to black belt. That's probably been the most rewarding thing. Not so much that the black belt's, the end all be all, because they're still training and everything else, but just, I don't know, there's something cool about going with someone for that long period of time, and seeing them promoted, and then at the same time seeing the emotion that they have with it, knowing what it means to them, and being able to give them that rank. That's something pretty special. So competitions and all that stuff's super cool and it's fun. But when I think back of the things that are really important to me, like if I really think about the thing that really stands out, it's the things like when I promoted Chad to black belt, and he talks about what it meant to him, and the things that I did over the years, what that meant to him. Or when I promoted Adam, and Adam was doing the same thing. He was about got me in the warm fuzzies right there, and then guys like my buddy black belt Rich and Flop and all these guys, like to grow with them. So those are by far the most rewarding experiences I've ever had. Contrasting showers for recovery, yay or nay? For me, I'd say yay, but even if I don't need to recover, I'll still do a contrast shower. In the morning, I'll clean up with the hot water, and then I'll go straight cold. And right now, because it's kind of cold in Kentucky at this point, we have some snow this morning, and it's down in it's around 30 some odd degrees, and so it's pretty chilly, and it gets colder sometimes. So when that water comes in through the cold water, I can see my breath, so it's pretty chilly in there. And I'll do about 2 minutes of shower in the cold. I'll go back to hot, get kind of warmed up for about 30 seconds, go back in the cold for about 2 minutes, and then tend to just end it with a little bit of hot, and then I'm done. But I like that cold water. Just even in the mornings, it just kind of wakes me up, makes me feel good, and then at nighttime it kind of just, again, I don't know, just it feels good. I enjoy it. So I do it for recovery, but I also just do it because I've grown to enjoy it. If I get in the shower and I don't go cold for a minute, I feel like something's missing. How tall and how much do you currently weigh? So I'm 6'8", even. That's how tall I am. And then as far as weight goes, I'm about 215 pounds. So give or take a few pounds depending on how much I ate or how much water's in me, but typically around 215 pounds. How should I deal with a tough breakup? Some of you guys watching this are thinking, man, that doesn't even have anything to do with jiu-jitsu, but it has everything to do with jiu-jitsu. Because if you're in a tough breakup and you're down in the dumps, it makes it really hard to train sometimes. So how do you deal with a tough breakup? Here's the way I used to do it, and this is the way that works best for me, although I've been with the same woman for a pretty long time now. But anytime I've dealt with a really rough breakup, which I've had a few, it would always work the same way. When we broke up, initially there was this feeling of like longing for the person, and I was really bummed out that they weren't around anymore, and especially nighttime when I would be kind of laying there in my own thoughts, it was even worse. So what I would do is I would, as quickly as possible, get on a couple dates with someone just so that like I could see other people and sort of take my mind off of that person and realize that there's other people out there that I'm going to enjoy being around, because a lot of times, you know, after a relationship, when you break up, you can only think about that person and you miss that person and all that stuff. But as soon as I would get into a couple dates and would sort of find people that I found interesting and thought were attractive, and they felt the same feelings to me, it kind of reminded me that, hey man, there's other fish in the sea, and you'll find someone else that's going to fit your life better. Because I mean, again, if you had a tough breakup, you should be thankful you had it, because it'll make room for someone else that's going to be better in your life than that person. And for our friend that's watching, if you guys have any really crazy breakup stories, throw them in down below. I might jump in the conversation and share mine. Whoever gets the most like votes on their breakup story, I'll send the shirt. Post training, better to focus on carbs, protein, or both? It really depends on what your focus is. Are you gaining weight, cutting weight, just trying to maintain? Assuming that you're just trying to maintain and kind of do that thing, I would say both of them. You want the protein obviously to repair muscle and everything else, and then you want the carbohydrates to sort of replenish your body. For me, a lot of times after a hard training session, I'll tend to move the smoothie route. I did a post or an email about this the other day to the email list, but I was talking about a smoothie recipe that I like. And the reason I go with smoothies just is kind of easy to do. And I'll typically get somewhere in the neighborhood after a hard training session about 70 to 125 grams of carbs. Because typically what I'll do is I'll eat most of my carbohydrates around my workouts, and then throughout the day they tend to taper down into like low carb meals. But for me, I like to get protein and carbs, right after training, within about 45 minutes of my training session. I get those in and then kind of go from there. It makes me feel a lot better in the day, and especially if I have to train later on the next, like maybe later in the evening or something like that, I want to get those carbs in so I can replenish and have more energy for later on that evening. So if you guys would like to win a free shirt, I think I'll give away like 3 shirts. So I'll go into the comments, say maybe 2 or 3 days later after this video is posted, I'll go down in there and I'll see the comments that got the most likes, the most replies, all that kind of stuff. And then what I'll do is I'll pick out 3 that I thought were funny or interesting or whatever, and I'll contact you guys to win a free shirt. And if you guys want to join in on the Friday Q&As that I do on Instagram, just go to Instagram, and just put in Chewjitsu, you'll find me, and you can jump in with me every Friday. But I had fun with you guys, and I will talk to you guys next time.